Well, friends, I have a bit of a confession to make. I was a couple of days ago finishing up Devar Torah for tonight, something that means a lot to me, a topic that I love to think about and to try to develop to present here. But then a couple of days ago, I experienced something that moved me very much. And in fact, some of you who are here tonight experienced it with me. And as I've let that experience kind of wash over me and have its way with, let me be a little highfalutin here, have its way with my soul, I decided that I want to share that experience and its implications as I felt it then, as I continue to feel it now. And that is a service that we had this past Wednesday down at MPAC, the Maltz Performing Arts Center, in the Silver Sanctuary. Most of you have been there. It was our confirmation service, and it was a powerful service in a powerful venue, and it had an impact on many of us who were there. It was the 174th confirmation service of the Temple-Tifereth Israel. Depending on how you count the generations, that's 7 or 8 generations of congregants who have sat in that glorious sanctuary and experienced a rite of passage of our students. And those of you who have attended our confirmation service or any confirmation service know that it's a combination of music and prayer and Torah reading. The confirmants always make their affirmations, and then I gave them a charge. This was quite a wonderful service. Most of the credit goes to our cantor, Kathy, who works extremely hard and effectively with these kids. And not every 15 or 16-year-old is attentive to the requirements of preparing for a confirmation service, but Cantor Kathy has always gotten them into great shape, and this service was really quite wonderful. It took place in the Silver Sanctuary, and those of you who have spent some time there know how awesome a place it is. You can sit there in the pews, and your eye is lifted upward to that magnificent dome as if our prayers go up to heaven. Our eye also automatically goes forward to the wonderful ark that resides up on the bima, carrying our sacred Torah scrolls. We celebrate in that sanctuary 100 years of services. It opened in 1924, and the 100, yes. I didn't prepare that particular remark. 100 years, and therefore there must have been more than 1,000, maybe thousands of services in that sanctuary. And I've been there by myself and during services, of course, and if you pay close attention, you can hear the echoes from the walls of that sanctuary, echoing the prayers of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people down through the generations. Those walls have really experienced and been witness to prayers of hope, of moments of sorrow, of love, of exhilaration. sitting as we all have with loved ones, family, friends. And so our minds and our hearts are replete with great memories of that place. I know that most of you, maybe all of you, have not stood on the bema at the center pulpit and experienced what that is like. I've had the privilege now for more than 30 years to be able to do that, to stand in the footsteps of our great rabbis, to be able to address the congregation as generations of clergy have done. It's an awesome place, but the architect, who had a very difficult piece of property on which to build that synagogue, created a septagon, 6 sides and a 7th side. And what a septagon does is it brings everything close together. And so standing at that pulpit, I can see everybody. Everybody seems to be very close to me, even those who are sitting in the balconies. So to you sitting out there, it may seem like a great distance from you to the clergy on the bema, but to us, it is moments of intimacy. We feel your presence, and we feel the power of our worship together. I want to say something about our confirmation class. We love, I'm sure the Cantor Siebel will agree with me, when the class is 30, 40, 50 confirmants, big, robust classes pointing to the energies that are brewing and that will bring so much happiness and meaning to us over the years. This year's class happened to be, I think it's the second smallest class we ever had. It was 7 16-year-olds. But we recognize that these are the individuals who have sustained their interest and their participation all of these years when their classmates, their peers, for one reason or another, have not continued through confirmation. These kids are already leaders of our congregation and will continue to grow as leaders. They are bright, sensitive, curious, accomplished. And for the first time, I decided, since I was going to be the one blessing them, to meet with each of them privately, which I did, and had an opportunity, and I'm sure Kathy will agree with me, that these are extraordinary kids. They're talented, they're interested, they're articulate, they are involved in so many different things. And when I had the opportunity to offer them a charge, I did something that I generally am not able to do. If we have 40, 50 kids, they're all sitting on the ground floor in the first row in front of me. I've done this before, and spoken to them sitting 20 yards away, maybe more. When there are so few, we can have them sitting on the bema. And so when I went to give them a charge, I felt a little bit of the conflict of not knowing how to stand, because families and congregants were there, the kids were here. And as the service was unfolding, I continued to ask myself, just how am I going to do it? But I decided to face them and have my backs to the congregants. And this was an especially thrilling series of moments for me, because having gotten to know these kids and been engaged in worship with them in this awesome sanctuary, I was only a few feet away from them. And so I could look them in the eye when I was speaking to them, and I could see their attentiveness and their interest and the way in which they were absorbing, hearing what I had to say. And what I tried to encourage them to think about is the idea of integrity and to live a life of integrity. And I pointed out to them that we have many examples in our glorious tradition and in all traditions of people who have lived lives of integrity. I pointed to Joseph, one of the sons of Jacob. I pointed to Ruth, to me the greatest hero in all of the Bible. I pointed to Harriet Tubman, abolitionist, social activist, active in the Underground Railway during the Civil War, bringing slaves out of the South into freedom. I pointed to Jethro. Some of you know who Jethro was, a Midianite priest whose daughter married Moses. And Jethro comes to see how things are doing just as the people arrive at Mount Sinai. And it is he who tells Moses to pick leaders of integrity. And he offers Moses the attributes of a person of integrity. Think of the imaginative power of the biblical author who has a non-Israelite, a priest of another religion, to give the essence of what it means to live a life of integrity. And I included with a favorite quote of mine, which I'm going to repeat to you. This was uttered by Senator Alan Simpson, a former Republican senator from Wyoming. And here's what he said. I'm sure as I'm finishing it, you will know exactly how it's going to conclude. If you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. And as I uttered those words and looked into the eyes of our confirmants, I recognized that this is really a message for our time and a message for all time. And some of them came up to me afterwards and said they recognized the power of that idea. Well, Cantor Sibo and I stood on the bema before the service started. We looked at one another and we shared a tear because we recognized that this was the last confirmation service of the Temple-Tifereth Israel. The last service in this space, a last service with our special confirmants, looking out into the congregation to see parents and teachers and grandparents, moved us at that moment very much. As we recognize not only the power of that service, but we also recognize that 174-year history is about to come to an end. But it's important to say that it's not just the ending of an era, it's the foundation for the future. And I want to point out to you how in our tradition, endings are never finalities. When we finish a book of the Torah, we raise the Torah, we say chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, be strong, and let us strengthen one another. And then we say a prayer with the title Hadran Alach, we will return to you. We finish a book of the Torah recognizing that we're coming back to it. That ending is not a conclusion, but a deepening of understanding of a book to which we will return. When we finish on Simchat Torah, the reading of the 5 books of Moses, what do? We immediately go back to the beginning of Genesis. We have ended the 5 books of Moses, but we come to see it through a transforming eye, that it now serves as a greater understanding of the meaning of Torah so that when we go back and read it again, as we begin to do, we are reading it with deeper understanding and stronger feeling. When we finish Pesach, we immediately know that we are moving toward Shavuot. Endings for us are foundations. No ending is ever the last conclusion. So I feel, and I think Cantor Sebo does too, that we were especially blessed to have the experience of this confirmation ceremony in an exalted sanctuary at an important transition time in the history of our congregation. And I felt like saying then, and I feel like saying now, Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. Let us be strong and let us continue to strengthen one another in our undoubtedly glorious future. Amen.